And welcome back to Jeff Koinange Live here at Citizen Television, here on the bench with two, what we call warriors of liberty. Former Chief Justice Dr. Willy Mutunga, the first Chief Justice under the present Constitution, has been in activism for half a century plus. You wonder, was he 3 years old when he started this? And Boniface Mwangi, the man who calls himself the People's Watchman. He's been on the cutting edge, been arrested, jailed, detained, you name it, but still speaks out for the people out there. Great to see you, gentlemen, again, real quick. What does it take to be an activist, Dr. Ari? I mean, you've been doing this for what, half a century?
We are activists, by the way.
Are we?
Yeah. It depends on what people mean by activism. There are abuses and uses of it. There are some people who think that an activist is just a person who is anti-government or somebody who stands up for their rights. But the word has this also political, political meaning. And in the Kenyan context, for example, anybody who fights or agitates to make sure that the Constitution is implemented and the Constitution is, protected and respected. People who don't want the Constitution respected, upheld, and defended, who call that person, you are an activist. And sometimes it's used as an abuse. But
like a dirty word. Like
it's a dirty word. You are an activist, you are a rabble-rouser, you have a mental illness, etc. But it's like human rights. A lot of people say I'm a human rights activist. And I say we all are, just like we are all politicians. Even in your own home, maybe when your daughter asks you for pocket money, that's a form of activism. Particularly if you are not giving good reasons why she not. It's standing up for something. Okay? Standing up for for something. But then there is the form of activism that it takes a lot of courage, it takes a lot of, courage to challenge governments and so forth. No. And I always remember a guy called Abdurrahmani Wandati, who was the Secretary General of the Islamic Party of Kenya. And he said, he was actually responding to a government, I think it was a Moi government. And he said, you can kill us or jail us, and we are prepared for both. That, for me, it's the basis of it. Yeah. Because there are times when death is not something that people are afraid of.
You're willing to die.
Yeah.
But let me ask you this. You started off as a photographer.
Yes.
And a very good one at that, by the way. A very good photographer.
Thank you.
And then you switched to this activism and you held on to it. How has that been for you?
Tough. So most Kenyans don't remember that about 15 years ago, we had post-election violence that led me to quit my job.
They forget.
Yeah, they forget.
15 years ago, 2008.
Yeah, there was a tribal war in this country. Over 1,000 people were killed, 500,000 displaced by politicians fighting for power. And so I covered that violence, and then that moved me to start showing people the pictures and tell them we can never do that again. And then move from there to telling people, you know what, we need to organize as Kenyans and demand for what is good for us. And I went to stadium and student Kibaki was there, and I was beaten. The price is very high. I say, seen a urologist in my 20s, and I'm not an old man, because the beatings, police try and beat particular areas when they beat you up. You get label names, but also the opposite side is you win. Every day I live along Langata Road. Every day when I pass through Langata Road, I see Langata Road Primary School playground. And I say that's a result of activism. We saved Race Course Primary, that the land had been grabbed. There's NACA primary. So there's a lot of achievements by standing up for the truth. The other thing is about the people that we are fighting are cowards. And they don't like being exposed. And they don't like being challenged. And that's the reason why they respond with violence. They respond with murder. They respond with arrests. Like now when people are talking about food. If you look at the protests that happened in the last 3 weeks, it wasn't about the server or the elections. It was about the cost of living. Yeah. And the police responded with what? With violence, because a government that is afraid of being told the truth is actually an illegitimate government. My call is, what you're saying actually is that every single person should be an active citizen. It doesn't matter if you're UDA, Azimio, or Jubilee. The moment the government gets into power, it's our government, right? It's everybody's government. Yeah. No, it's the work of every single citizen to hold that government accountable. Because unga ya 200 ni ya 200 kwa UDA na Azimio. If there is insecurity in your area, it affects both Azimio and UDA supporters. So we need to hold the government accountable collectively. Stop taking sides in the issue about the Constitution. Because the truth is, the pettiness that Uhuru led this country with for about 10 years is the pettiness that Ruto is trying to repeat. Uhuru went after Joho, took his guns, did very many things, kidnapped people, murdered people. And Ruto is doing same path, forgetting that power ends. Power is not forever. Power is transient. So I'd like to ask President, apart from him being a busybody, who is everywhere opening projects, focus on the work that you're elected to do. And that work is not killing Kenyans. Because right now, the president is focused on killing Kenyans to prove a point to Raila Odinga. But Kenyans don't forget. I don't think he wants that blood in his hands.
Are you surprised it's happened less than a year since he's been in office?
I'm shocked because like a month ago, I went on TV and said, I'm so happy that the president disbanded extrajudicial killing hit squads. You used to have Rivayala bodies, containers. He came and said, those days have come to an end and I'm disbanding them. And then, less than a month later, we have 50 people killed by the police. And let me tell you, the police have never called me and say, how do we deal with protesters or how do we call a protest? You don't need live ammunition to disrupt a protest or to disband people. You can use rubber bullets, you have tear gas, you have batons. There are many non-lethal ways of calling a protest. But the problem is the Kome, who is doing a lot of illegal things, wants to prove to the president, I'm capable of killing as many people as you want me to kill. The blood of the people who have died in the past 1 month are in the hands of Ruto and Kome. And you should never let them forget that. You should tell them you kill these people for nothing.
Doctor, a lot of people may not remember this, but you were arrested, you were jailed, you went into exile.
No, I didn't.
Did you go to Tanzania or?
No.
Okay, so I don't know this.
It's you are reading a lot of Wikipedia. Yes, I was arrested, charged with sedition, and they withdrew the charges, and then I was detained. But when I came out of detention, I renewed my practicing certificate, and I went to practice, and I had a very lucrative practice defending bank robbers.
By the way, where were you detained?
Committee. Oh, you asked to when?
Where?
Oh, it was committee, Shimalatewa, Hola, and then committee.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
Hola, all the way in off Manda Island?
Yeah, it's in Tana River.
How was that?
Oh, that was harsh because it was, it's a very hot place. And I was there in March. So snakes, all manner of prison warders. We used to call, the snakes part of the torture. But detention was harsh, but you basically get to deal with the situation.
The point I'm trying to make here is, did you regret all this? Because, and both of you, you suffered so much, right? For country, for whatever it is that you did it for. Any regrets?
No, I was innocent, right? we fought for academic freedom at the university. I used to do a lot of legal aid and advice, pro bono, okay? But the moment I got out of detention, I saw that, you know, I would fight oppression, okay, and injustice. And that's the path I took. And even in the judiciary, when I was in the judiciary, there was still activism there, right?
Tell me, what were you detained for? What was the charge?
It's very interesting. Possession of seditious pamphlet that was circulating. You know, the title was JM Solidarity, Don't Be Fooled, Reject These Nyayos. So, but I didn't have it. Okay, the police actually keep those documents if they want to say you had it,
right,
and so forth.
Yeah.
But I wasn't alone. It was the leadership of the University Staff Union was arrested. A lot of, I think 5 of us went to detention, and then 1 was jailed, Maina Kenyati.
How long did you serve total?
16 months.
Oh, wow.
That's not long.
That's a year and a half.
That was 8 or 9 years.
6.
6 years.
Yeah, and if you talk about Koigi Wamwere, so I think 13 years. Raila, I think, 7 or so? Yeah. So they served, you know. Yeah. And when you talk about activism, people tend to talk about it in the present terms. Okay? There was a lot of activism during colonial period. In fact, when we were at Central Police Station, I was telling these young people that's where Harithuku,
that's right,
in 1922 was detained, and Mudhoni Nyajiru was killed, you know, when they were demonstrating.
On that road. On
that road. Right. And there is a history of, you know, demonstrations.
Speaking of demonstrations or sedition, some politicians this week were arrested and charged with, found apparently with seditious material. We still have that in 2023?
It's amazing how, you know, the police charge people with, you know, laws that are unconstitutional. They don't even have the mind to align, okay, those statutes with the Constitution, because the Constitution is supreme. So Public Order Act, I don't know what, you know, it's something that I thought the Attorney General, you know, the DPP, the guy in charge of internal security is a professor of law. I don't know where they studied their law. they should be the ones who are telling Kome.
Yes. Okay.
Article 37 has to be implemented, you know, this way. Okay? Yeah. They should. And Kindiki, you know, has been very conflictual. Sometimes he's stating the law, you know, properly, and then he becomes, you know, a person who is not following the law and threatening people. Yeah. But I think the tragedy of this country is that we don't have a government or even the opposition that is keen on implementing the Constitution. Because if we implemented the Constitution, if people obeyed, you know, court orders. You remember when President Ruto came in, we were all very happy. Your friend Miguna came back. Yes. The judges were sworn in. Yeah. The port of, you know, the port was returned, correct, you know, to Mombasa. And, you know, we applauded. But thereafter, you know, the issue of the cabinet, what are they called?
Secretaries.
Yeah. You know, the president should realize, the president and his government, all right, that actually disobeying court orders is subverting the Constitution. Okay, it's overthrowing, the Constitution. And again, that people, even if you hate somebody in this country, they have rights. Okay? Yeah. You cannot, the police cannot allow people to go and steal Uhuru's goats and trespass and cut his trees. That's
and not a single arrest.
And not a single arrest. To this day. To this day.
No one has been charged.
By the way, for you, the human cost, the personal cost. I mean, and we look at pictures. There's some pictures. Remember when you were at Parliament buildings?
Yes.
The M-Pig, the famous M-Pigs story. And, you went through hell with that.
True.
What's that been like for you, that cost?
The matter, okay, even that matter is actually still in court.
Is that right?
Yeah, so one of the things about being an activist in this country, you get profiled. You're told you're a puppet of the West, you're a Mzungu project, because the politicians reason that human rights are foreign ideas to Kenyans. Kenyans don't know what human rights are. So there's a lot of profiling and a lot of emotional and physical cost. I think I don't have regrets, but I think what pains me a lot is the kind of people Kenyans elect to represent them. It breaks my heart. When I look at Ruto's government and I look at his cabinet, it breaks my heart. Your people have been charged with rape, murder, stealing, land grabbing, and then 2 days ago, the president pardoned about a number of people.
Like 6,000.
And some were convicted for defiling kids, defilement, murder, stealing from Kenyans. And you ask yourself, what kind of an example is the president giving to the country? Because the president should be a symbol of integrity, a symbol of unity, a symbol of love. But if you look at him, there's none of that. His language, his tone, his demeanor, and the people he surrounds himself with. Every single day, we are being preached for by thieves online telling us, mpende musipende, mfanye musifanye. And there's no seriousness in fighting corruption. And I want to come to another thing. There's a guy called Peter Kaluma, who's an Azimio member of parliament. Another guy called Mboru Kariuki Koru, something from Mbere. There are two motions in parliament. Peter Kaluma is bringing a motion in parliament to say that if you're charged with crimes, if you're found guilty of corruption charges and jailed, you can still run for public office.
Right.
So you want someone like Sonko to run for public office. And then this other guy called Koru has brought a bill in parliament saying that procurement crimes are not crimes, they're misdemeanors, and should be dealt with internally in an administrative way. What that means, you can wake up and give your friends all the tenders and ensure that they get them, and then the person who gives out the tenders, a procurement officer, does not commit any crime. It becomes, so there's no crime on procurement, and if you're found guilty and jailed, you can still run for public office, which means we are trying to entrench thuggery, criminality in the Constitution. And that's
but that is not the Constitution. The Constitution is very clear.
But they want to amend the Constitution to make that possible.
Well, yeah, they're going to try.
They're going to try. And they will fail. But they're able to do that because that same parliament vetted people who are criminals and made them cabinet ministers.
Yeah, but the truth of the matter is that the people who have been running government since 2010, they didn't support the Constitution. They were against it.
Right.
Yeah. And so the entire class that rules, okay? And, we are ruled by people we didn't elect. They were ruled by cartels, national and international, all manner of people.
Right.
But what I'm saying is that we have people who don't believe in the Constitution.
And that's the problem.
It's a big problem because they swear to defend and uphold the Constitution. Okay, then they violate court orders. And as Mwangi is saying, people bring all manner of motions and so forth. It calls for citizens' vigilance.
But what does that say, Dr. Ari, about the judiciary, the last arm of government, right? Has it been compromised, or is it the only arm that hopefully that we have hope in?
In my view, the judiciary has come up with, very, very progressive jurisprudence, okay? But the institution hasn't gelled as an institution, okay? You still have, and this is of course well known, that there are some judicial officers who are corrupt, they can be compromised, until you get a judiciary where no judicial officer or judge can think of soliciting a bribe,
right,
or taking one, okay? And a judiciary that actually is loyal to the Constitution itself, okay? At the moment, we kind of, and during my time as Chief Justice, that happened, where you see there is still a problem in terms of understanding how the Constitution has to be interpreted, and the judges understanding that the judiciary is at a crossroads. You either go the way of the colonial system, when the judiciary was an appendage of the executive, or you become a temple for the people and give them their rights and so forth. That's the struggle is still there. Yeah. But I can say, that that's the only institution that, will save us from the cartels and the kind of people this guy is talking about. Yeah. Because people do go there. I mean, yes. Jomo's son, or Huru's son, Jomo, went to a judge who looked at the law. And if the law is not aligned to the Constitution, then the Constitution is supreme.
Correct. And
that's how people, have to be protected. But even these arrests, I guess the DPP went and withdrew the charges, right?
Pauline Njoroge.
Yeah. Correct.
The fake charges.
Yeah,
correct.
Yeah. So they're going to, we shouldn't have a situation where somebody is arrested and charged with possession of arrows, bows and arrows, knowing very well that's a fake charge.
Right.
It's governments get sued, for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But earlier on, you alluded to the fact that people refer to activists as people who get paid by the outside,
yes.
By wazungus and stuff. Yeah. So how do you sustain your movement?
Very good. I own a shoe shop called Dope Swag.
Oh, are those your shoes?
Yes. So I sell shoes actually. I sell land. I'm a land dealer.
Maguta.
Not Maguta, but legit plots. So if you want to buy land or sell land, I'm your guy. Dr. Willy has been to my home. So, and then I get support from friends. See, let me tell you, I don't need money to do a tweet or to go to a police station. So I wake up to go and maybe sell shoes at Dope Swag or go sell land at Carriage Bays. I'm selling land in Mali right now. I'm doing an advert.
You get commissions.
And then I get a commission.
Yes.
And then I just work for Kenyans. And I enjoy this job because what I've decided to do with my voice and my platform is use it as a platform for other people to express what they're going through. This year I've been sued 4 times.
4?
I have 4 court cases. This year alone, 4 times. Not because of something that I did, because of highlighting someone's problem. Because
those cost money?
Those cost money, yeah. So you get pro bono lawyers. And the problem I have with the law in this country is that the lawbreakers are more powerful than the victims. That when you go to a court of law, the lawbreaker can afford to bribe the judge and bribe the prosecution and even walk scot-free. We have seen a man who murdered someone and ran away to Uganda, been acquitted last week. We saw that.
Yeah.
It was everywhere, and people saw it. There were witnesses that he shot someone, but he fled the country. I've seen the DPP withdraw charges against very powerful people. And so the problem in this country is that the Mafia have more power than the Kenyan people. And how can you deal with that? I think the president needs to actually tell us where he stands in terms of the law. Is he a lawbreaker or is he going to uphold the law? And if he's going to uphold the law, can his cabinet and the people that he works around with reflect that?
But Jeff, this constitution gives the citizens a lot of power.
But
we don't know this. We don't realize.
Okay,
I won't finish. So you can tell us what to do, because there's two things I think the president can do.
Yes.
I want to find a way. You need to protect witnesses. Because one of the ways we lose cases in this country is that the moment you're a witness against a powerful person, your life is at risk.
You'll be killed.
You'll be killed.
Yeah, chances are.
Disappeared. Number two, protect whistleblowers and give them a commission or a cut. There must be compensation, because people risk their lives to go and reveal a case, then they end up in trouble. A case in point, Anglo-Listen, John Gidongo was a whistleblower. Everyone has been acquitted. John Gidongo is in court today, facing defamation charges.
30 years later.
Yes. So you see, you become a whistleblower, but you end up being dragged in court for a long time for blowing the case, the Mara heist. The whistleblowers lost their jobs, are in trouble. Yeah. The thieves are walking scot-free. But you're saying the Constitution actually gives us a way to...
Yeah, you know, it does. Problems are also very political. You know, this country, the politics is ethnicized and monetized, okay? A lot of divisions based on religion, region, and so forth. So, and then you have these ethnic barons, you know, who you can't underestimate them. They have a following, okay?
Yeah.
So the Constitution actually provides for members of the public to conduct private prosecutions. Okay, it's there, Article 157, okay, if you want to look at it.
Yes.
Where, you know, the private prosecution, like these cases where there have been withdrawals, a lot of them is actually conditional. It wasn't absolute. Where it can be resurrected.
Right.
Which means that maybe at some point, you know, these people can still be rearrested and tried. And that, you know, public private prosecution is very, very, very important. But you have a point that the Constitution hasn't been the subject of civic education.
Yeah.
There is what is called public interest litigation that actually is robust, because it's the one that...
the BBI.
Yes, okay? And this guy called Omutata, Citizen Omutata,
yes,
you know, does that
all the time.
All the time. And there are some NGOs, Katiba Institute, Muhuri, Kenya Human Rights Commission, that actually go to court to basically say Parliament has come up with a legislation that is unconstitutional. Yeah. But the Constitution says very clearly in Article 1 that we have the sovereign power.
We the people.
Yes, we the people, and we delegated, you know, to executive, judiciary, parliament. Yeah. What people don't know is that you can withdraw, you know, that, you know, that power. Yeah. So I think if we had a leadership that believes in the Constitution, Kenya would will actually develop in a human rights trajectory.
It will take off.
Okay, it will definitely take off. But if you look at the history of those who rule us since Jomo Kenyatta, they never cared about the Constitution. They didn't. Yeah. Up to whether it's Uhuru or Ruto, they oppose this particular Constitution. So we have a beautiful baby called the Constitution, but we have given it to child traffickers.
I thought you were going to say, but she was stillborn, but no, we've sold her. We have sold her. Yes. Gentlemen, I want to come back, talk more about that. By the way, what's the name of your shoe brand?
The shop is called Dope Swag.
Dope Swag.
Yes.
Nice.
Thank you.
And the land?
The company selling the land, Courage.
Courage.
You name the business after yourself. Like your show, JK.
Okay, we're going to take a break.